As you just saw, I have a lot of records. All those records were donated to me today from somebody that apparently spoke to me many months ago, like 6 months ago, and now has gotten around to dropping them off. And he said he has DVDs and CDs as well as VHS tapes. So we'll see. But yeah, that was about four crates, boxes, whatever, 5 boxes. Now, they look in really rough shape. I've seen worse, but this is pretty rough. However, there's almost always something good in there. So let's dig into some of this stuff. I've already sorted here. This is stuff I'm not going to keep. This is stuff that I'm potentially going to keep once I look it up and see, see what it is exactly, see if it's something that I want to have in the store. And also, of course, look at the condition of the record and the sleeve, etc. So these are things, for instance, all this Christmas stuff I'm not going to bother with. This one I've seen a million times, not going to bother. Not going to bother. I don't know what this is. There's loose records as well. This kind of stuff, this big box set, of course, is messed up as well from Life. I'm not going to bother with. This one, no. Broadway's Best. So those are kind of things that I'm going to pass on and not bother even looking up. Yeah. There's another one. There's this Reader's Digest. The Great Country Entertainers. I'm going to pass on that. Now these are ones that have potential that I haven't seen before, or that I feel based upon what the music is or just what I see from it, from the cover. Yeah, that it might have some potential. So I've never heard of this guy. I don't know if this is country. It looks very country, but then might be comedy. This is just a funny title. My dirty, low-down, rotten, cotton-picking little darlin'. So, never heard of these guys. The Jeezenslaw Brothers. Might be folk, kind of country, not sure. Chad and Jeremy. It's loaded with hits. Looks like a 60s kind of deal. Haven't seen them before. Dean Martin. I will keep Dean Martin if I get enough of them. I will put them together in a lot. Because I don't move that many of them here locally. But I'll put them in a lot and put them on eBay and sell them. Pan American folk dances. So there was a good amount of Spanish language music records. So as you can see, there's a bunch of folk dances from all these different Latin American countries. Let's see, we've got all this. Anyway, you can look at it yourself. That has potential. I like to keep the Spanish stuff. I currently have an international section, but I'm starting to get so many Spanish records, I'm probably going to have to create a Spanish-only record section. Here's another one, flamenco, Spanish, lots of Spanish. Ray Conniff, I've sold. I don't think I've sold any in the store, but I have sold several times lots of his, so I keep those because he was very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Prolific. Tom and Dan just looks kind of funny. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll check it out. Here is classical. I usually put classical out. Christmas in Mexico. It's Christmas, but it's in Mexico. So that's unique. I haven't seen that before. This looks interesting. A Long Way from Home. I'm not sure what it is. So I'll have to look that up. Oh, it does say Blues Way, so maybe it's blues. I don't know. Look that one up. The Spanish one. Earl Gardner. I tend to put out his stuff. Lou Rawls as well. We'll see what the condition is. Another Spanish one. This one, don't know. You can read the title for yourself. Looks a little iffy, possibly racist, but I don't know. Have to look it up. Peggy Lee. I haven't seen too many Peggy Lee albums. Edie Gourmet was big back in the day. Vicky Carr as well was big. And then Ike and Turner. I don't know if I have that one or I've had that one before. So 2 things. Number 1, getting stuff for free. And number 2, what records I do well with in the store. In my store, let me show you the store if you haven't seen it in a while. Here it is. I've got several thousand records. Um, so I have a big record collection, or selection, not my collection, a collection of records for sale. I've got a big one. Uh, and so I tend to sell a decent amount of records. It always fluctuates. Some weeks I sell more than the other. Some weeks I sell more CDs. It's always depends on the week, or just I never quite know. However, I have figured out that most people, of course, are looking for classic rock. So stuff from the 70s, stuff from the 60s. You know what classic rock is. When I come across that stuff, I put it out. It usually sells. Certain oldies type of stuff, of course, Beatles. Certain things from the 60s. There's a lot of stuff in the 60s that's not very good, or that doesn't sell well for me. But certain artists and certain groups do pretty well. The 80s do fairly well. And the 70s in general, it doesn't have to be classic rock. It could be something else as well. Soul and funk does really well for me in the store. I do have a good amount of jazz, but jazz is kind of hit or miss. I sell some of it, but not always that much. Other genres that are hard, that I've found it hard to come across, are blues. People ask about blues, reggae, rap. A random one would be rockabilly. Those, I'm looking over here at what I have. Hard rock on vinyl, I rarely come across. So those are some that are harder. Of course, punk rock is another one that I've hardly ever found. Electronic music, I've sold a good amount of that, but I don't come across it that often. So those are some of the genres that I look for. The longer I've been selling records in the store, which has now been over 3 years, the more I learn about what people are looking for. Not only the genres, but the specific groups and specific artists that tend to do well. You can kind of tell, like with the book, like with a CD, and now with DVDs, you can tell by just looking at the cover whether or not something has potential. So that tends to be the case as well. I have everything organized by genre. They're all $3 a piece, and then I have one box that's bursting at the seams of individually priced records, and I tend to move a decent amount of those as well. But yeah, I have plenty of records that people can dig through. I feel like I have too many records right now that I need to maybe thin the herd a bit, because it does, records are big. They're not individually heavy, but when you get a crate of them, it's pretty heavy, pretty bulky. Not like books, of course, but still takes up some space. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about when it comes to records. So I was glad to get these, but at the same time, I'm always glad to get donations, people that hand off stuff to me, because I know they could go to Goodwill, they could go to any of the other thrift stores in the area, and there's many of them. They could just throw them out, of course. So I always appreciate it. But looking at these records, they're not in that great a shape. However, the ones that I put aside are in good enough shape to where if it makes sense to keep it in the store, I could probably sell it. I don't mind, if the sleeve's really messed up, or if the actual album has any sort of significant damage, to mark the price down. Like I said, I usually charge $3, but I don't mind charging $2 or even $1 for ones that are a little less, or the condition isn't really quite good enough for what I want to put in the store and charge a normal price for. Excuse me. How I get these donations is by just being out there and putting my business out there. The longer that I've had the business open, people find me. People search on Google. People search, when they're driving around or they're at home. I assume they're using Google. They might use social media as well, but people tend to find me on Google, and they'll give me a call asking if I take donations. People just stop in that have been customers, existing customers or previous customers, and they will drop stuff off and then buy some new stuff or just make a donation. So over time, I have, built up, not a reputation, but just the fact that I'm here. People know I'm here, so they can know they can donate these types of items. I don't have a big enough presence in the sense of everybody knows about my store in the area, to get, constant flow of donations like you'll see at a Goodwill or other thrift stores or the local thrift stores, just because people don't know about me. But that's part of, what I'm continue to do by posting on social media, putting my signs out, staying open, that people will drive by and they'll just say, hey, do you take donations? And they won't even buy anything. They'll either have something in their car. It's happened many times. They'll say, oh, I'm heading down to the thrift store. Sure, you guys take this kind of stuff. I might as well just drop it off here. Or I've got stuff back at the house. I'll bring it back tomorrow, that kind of thing. So the more I'm open, the more my presence more and more gets out there. This kind of stuff happens. So if you don't have, again though, 8+ years ago, I started out just in my house selling books on Amazon FBA. That was it. So 8 years ago, I had none of this, and now look at this craziness in terms of the amount of inventory I have. Of course, it took years to build this up, but I mean, within 3 years anyway, I went from having, 10 tables in the warehouse to now having all this, probably over 10,000 items. So it takes time, and I started out just selling on Amazon books through FBA, and it evolved from there. So if you have no intention of getting this big, and this is not that big, but much bigger than being in your house and just selling books and going to local thrift stores and whatnot. But if you want to try to get donations or pick things up from people, you got to advertise it. You got to tell people you should print up some cards for, $40 or whatever, and hand them out to anybody that you come across. Tell them what you do. You'd be surprised. Post on social media, post on various apps. You probably see people doing it, and it's a matter of just letting people know. If you're good at talking to people and building relationships, then you can do this as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment below. Give me a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.